players, the personalities who come from around the world to play professional soccer in the United States.
Go, go, USA! Oh, it's incredible!
In a world where some call it football, football, or soccer, they dare to call it foosball. One thinks New York is blue, the other thinks New York is red. Soccer in America from a German perspective. Let them put some sauerkraut on your hot dog and join them for the Schnitzel Boys USA Hour.
Yay!
Yeah! Playoff Derby, baby.
It's finally happening.
It's finally happening. I'm already stressed out about it.
Me too. And I'm a little disappointed about it.
What?
We'll talk about that in a second. I'm just disappointed at the circumstances about it all.
What are you talking about?
The circus is what I'm talking about. The dang circus. Here in Los Angeles, if LAFC played the LA Galaxy, 90,000 would be at the Rose Bowl or at the Memorial Coliseum. New York City, which is a bigger city, maybe. I don't know. The New York metropolitan area has more people in it, I think.
Bigger than LA, yes.
Yeah. I mean, LA is bigger maybe land-wise, but I think population-wise, New York City. Why is finally the biggest derby of the century? We're finally playing the big thing. Rumor has it that the seats are capped at 22,000 tickets.
That is true.
Because we don't have access to a parking lot. I mean, MLS, come on now. That's Bush League. All right, it's conference semifinals. It's big game. Put it at MetLife. Sell those tickets. 45,000 should be 50,000 should be there. I'm asking for half of what LA can do. I'm asking for half. MetLife what? MetLife's in New Jersey.
Busy. We have football season. Yeah, it's football season.
They can't sneak it or up at East Rutherford or not East Rutherford.
Sneak it
up in Connecticut.
Connecticut? Are you out of your mind? Nobody would come to that. Listen.
It's bad that New York City can't host a big soccer event.
This is just like raining on a parade. This is just you're being a
well. How do you feel about it?
I mean, whatever. Like, we have stadium problems. It's well documented. We are at the mercy of other people's schedules. Really, honestly, the likelihood that we would even have another home game was so low. I mean, this is a very fluky thing. No offense. You thought you would beat Columbus and we would beat Cincinnati. Those were two upsets.
It gets better, Bjorn.
This was not and Miami's done too. We have the fourth seed is the highest seed left.
New York Red Bulls are going to have another home game this year. I didn't know that. Isn't that cool? I thought our last home game was the end of the season. That's the end of it, or Columbus. But when we beat you guys, and then Atlanta beats whoever they're playing against, so Charlotte or Orlando, whoever, we're going to host Atlanta for the Eastern Conference Final. Isn't that crazy? That's a home game for the Eastern Conference Final. I can't wait.
Oh, you've already won the game?
Oh,
you already won the game against us?
Of course.
I see. All right.
Can't wait. We knocked out Columbus, all right?
Well, if you but Atlanta would have to beat Orlando. Otherwise, you have to go on the road.
Our game against you at Citi Field, grand slam. Okay, we're gonna run around those bases, hit you on the seventh inning stretch. There's not gonna be any extra innings. We're gonna get you in 9 innings. Bottom of the ninth, we'll knock you out. Bottom of the ninth, it'll be near. You guys don't even have to come out for the top of the ninth. We get you in the bottom. Or did I get it right?
What?
The other way around?
Wait. What were you saying?
Wait a minute.
I fell asleep. I fell asleep when you started with the baseball references.
Do you know where they come from, by the way? I don't think you understand the connection between the baseball references and NYCFC. You see, all of your games are in multiple baseball venues. Not one, multiple venues.
What? Oh, my God. That explains so much.
And your co-owner, the New York Yankees, has no interest in hosting you guys for any sort of games for the rest of the year. Doesn't matter how good you guys. They don't care. So you guys are renting Citi Field. However, the circus does take priority that day. So watch out. Make sure you don't crash. Make sure you don't crash that little clown car full of 9 clowns.
Yeah, we only have 22,500 capacity. If we were playing at Red Bull Arena, we would get how many people?
25,000.
Yeah, and those would show right.
But I'm talking about Red Bull. I'm talking MetLife.
This
we need
is
45,000 people in that stadium. We need to pack that stadium.
I thought that was a possibility. I said that to somebody, and they just gave me the 1,000-yard stare. I guess no, but because football season's happening, that place it can't be done. But I mean, they have 2 weeks. Whatever. This is boring to me. Who cares? 22,500. How many more really would come? You're saying, okay, in LA you'd have 90,000. Let's say it was at MetLife. That's about what we would get, right? We would get about. I mean, we could maybe get 25. We could get 30.
At Yankee Stadium, have you guys at the wasn't there 45,000 at the Hudson Derby at Yankee Stadium or something like that?
This year, no. We played you at Citi Field, and I think they were 30, maybe. It was like almost 30. So
I guess I'm not mad.
But somehow these playoff games, somehow because it's short notice, they don't market them as well. This is just how it is. I don't know. When we have our stadiums, can be sold out every time.
I'm just mad at MLS.
2 years away.
I just feel like this could be a thing that change in season would also help with.
If that kind of thing upsets you, you're going to be upset a lot.
Not here in LA. No, LA solved that. The 2 LA teams know what they're doing. But anywho. Sorry.
Yeah.
I just want to bring that up.
Anywho.
You went to. We talked about Rebels last week.
Negative Nancy here leading with this.
If I don't say it, we have to keep MLS honest. Okay.
A moment of
it's
joy.
Playoffs. They want to be the best league in the universe. It's the playoffs. You can't. One stadium's booked just as a circus. You kidding me? Anyway. We talked Red Bulls last week. I'm a little bit today, but NYCFC did get through. It's the Hudson River Derby. I'm really excited about it. It is what's going to be.
Yeah, I can tell.
Tell me about Cincinnati.
I went to Ohio.
I didn't know that.
I had bought we talked about it last week that I ran the marathon on Sunday. I had bought the ticket at halftime. Just in the excitement we were up to, and I thought, oh, I'll better buy it now before they get. And I got a good deal, and then I was like, oh, am I really going to go? But I have 24 hours to cancel. But then because of the marathon, I kind of forgot about it. Like I got distracted, and so the 24-hour cancellation policy came and went. And
the plane ticket
for a plane ticket, yeah, because you can always have. I sometimes do these soccer situations. You buy a ticket. And then, if you lose the game or you don't, or you change your mind, the excitement wears off. You just cancel it. But in this case, I realized on the evening of Sunday night after the marathon that the 24-hour period had gone by, and I was now a proud owner of a ticket to Cincinnati the next weekend. So I went. So I couldn't. Convince any one of my regular friends to come with me, but I know enough of the people. I used to do this frequently. It hasn't been in recent years, not as much the road games, but
whenever they showed all the NYCFC fans cheering, I was looking for you. I assumed.
I was there. I was there. People were sending me screenshots of myself from Apple TV. Because I was in the front. There weren't that many of us. There were maybe like 100 of us. I took a plane early. I took a plane Saturday morning, came back Sunday morning. It was very quick.
Did you go to Over the Rhine, the German part of Cincinnati? You have
I did, yeah, I did. There was a brewery I very briefly visited called Rheingeist.
Nice. Ghost of the River.
They were very cool. Yeah, they were very cool. We had the pregame was not there. They thought they were gonna. When there is some nonsense.
Real quick, hold on. Sorry, we're having some audio notes here. Seb,
Oh.
guys, your mic, I can hear it for 1 second, and then the next I can't hear what you're saying. So it's cutting in and out. Is that what you're saying, Seba?
All right. Well,
How are we now? Can you hear us? If you can hear us, let us know. I mean, our levels are showing,
I hear you. I hear you well.
Well, but Seba, let us know if we're still cutting in and out. Cool? As of right now, we're going to assume we're okay. Yeah, Seba says never mind. Okay. All right. Sorry. So
All right.
make sure. Because we've been there before when I want to fix it ASAP. Sorry to interrupt. Keep going.
No, very good. We need the feedback with this new setup. So thanks for that. Yeah, there were 100 of us. We met, hung out a little bit before. I sort of walked around downtown Cincinnati a little bit, and I
Did you get Skyline Chili? That's the big one.
I did get Skyline Chili the next morning, but I had a different. Locals warned me. A couple people I
it's
met.
Gross, isn't it? It's disgusting.
At the game said to not get Skyline. They said Dixie Chili is better. But I didn't make it that far. So I had I had a little bit of Skyline Chili at the airport for breakfast the next morning, and it was not great.
Yeah, isn't it disgusting?
But other people, that was on me. I could have done the Dixie thing, but I didn't.
But real quick, the Dixie thing is another version of all. This is like bean chili put on like spaghetti noodles, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't taste anything other than what I just described. It just tastes.
No, it doesn't. They put a bunch of
noodles.
They put a bunch of cheese on it, but the cheese is basically it's as if they just took it out of the Kraft bag from the supermarket. They don't really do anything to it. It's kind of not. It's not warm. The chili, yeah, it's unimpressive.
I might put it. So I was gonna say maybe the Dixie version's better or whatever. I might put it as the most overrated, disappointing like local cuisine you can find. Like usually you go and it's like, hey, that's not bad.
Local signature item. No, the locals were immediately, the couple people that I talked to were immediately ready to discredit it and were be like, yeah, don't get that. It's not good. It's no good. I guess I don't know what the New York equivalent would be for that.
I mean,
there isn't.
New York doesn't really have pizza and bagels. Pizza.
Yeah, but those are usually pretty good.
Oh, you mean like a thing that's bad?
Like a thing the thing that is not worth the hype. I guess juniors maybe, like if somebody says I would have other, if somebody was like, oh, I'm gonna go to juniors for cheesecake, right. I would say, oh, I have a couple spots that are better. Although junior's not bad either, actually.
Right. I don't think New York City has that. I mean, stuff is overpriced there. Like there's certain places like don't go to TikTok Diner or something. But
that's true. That is not the case in Cincinnati. Yeah. Cincinnati also, yeah, downtown was very nice and people are friendly. I had like I said, I went through downtown. I inadvertently stumbled into the FC Cincinnati pregame festivities. It was very early. I mean, it was very early, so there weren't a lot of people. And I was in full, NYCFC gear, and I chatted with the FC Cincinnati employee and asked her, "Oh, am I invited to this?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, of course." I was like, "No, I guess I'll just move on." But there's a lot of culture in Cincinnati. If we had lost, I would have gone to the symphony. There was a concert. They had Mozart and Bruckner. So if we had lost the game, that was my plan B, because our game was early afternoon. So I would have done that. But since we didn't, I didn't do that. And
what's the difference? Because there's a post-game party, or what's the difference?
Yeah, because we were obviously, there was some exuberance among the fan base. We were, people were making noise. We were hanging. It was a fun night.
We have a vote for New York worst food from the chat. The sausage and pretzels on Manhattan, they suck in my opinion. Do not eat there. The food always tastes terrible. I think it's talking about I guess maybe the hot dog and pretzel stand.
Oh, the hot dog carts. Yeah, I think that's fair. That's probably
pretzels are definitely dry. I know that the pretzels are never amazing.
Yeah, and the hot dogs
are okay.
No, not. I mean, there's a huge range. Like you
Yeah.
cannot trust. I think that's a good call actually.
There is
You
a
cannot
spot. Right.
automatically trust a hot dog cart in Manhattan.
If you're
Like
getting street food,
they
get
can be
chicken
pretty
over
awful.
rice. Get falafel, get chicken over rice.
Yeah,
That's the bet.
the
Right.
halal people are usually pretty reliable
Those are my
when it comes
go-tos.
to the street meat. This
No,
the hot dogs can be good, but they're not always. Sometimes they can be pretty awful.
my
That's true.
favorite,
Good
my
good
favorite hot.
point.
Good shout out, Seba. Good shout out to my favorite hot dog space, which I don't know if still exists or not, was right by Port Authority. It wasn't its own stand. It was a little hole in the wall, but it was like into the building. It was they cooked Hebrew National there. I forgot what it's called. It was like
Oh
called
yeah,
99-cent
yeah.
hot dog or something.
Okay.
I used to get it from there, and those were my favorite spot. They just spiced it right. They were a good
I
hot
mean,
dog
there's
spot.
definitely good hot dogs. Katz's makes good hot dogs. There's
Right.
definitely good hot dogs to be found in New York. But like, I agree that if you just go to a random cart that's in Central Park or whatever, they used to be $1. Now they're like
Right.
5,
Yeah.
and yeah, those are not always good. So yeah, when you're a road warrior in MLS games, you got to go through a lot of shenanigans. You know, there's like they treat you like. I mean, I've been. You know that you have to go to the stadium. You have to go. I was told by by Andrew of the Third Rail supporters group. You know, they were going to go to Rhine Guys for pregame, but then the team FC Cincinnati said, "Oh, they wouldn't want us to do that because we would be too close to the." So there's all this managing that goes on, right? You're like, you're supposed to go there at a certain time, and then you have like babysitters. The team NYCFC sends like 3 or 4 people just to chaperone the fans. Then there's the local Cincinnati security and it's a whole thing. And you're just like, come on now.
Was this ever an issue? No, right?
I've been on elementary school trips with less supervision than this, and yeah, I mean, this was a pretty quiet. I don't know. I mean, sometimes stuff happens. I guess they've had some definitely in the derbies with the Red Bull games. There have been incidents here or there.
No, definitely, but that's a different story.
But I mean, in this case, they were kids. You know, they were family. We had families with children, and it was like a very kind of mellow crowd. I don't know. And plus, as someone who, you know, went to Bundesliga games in the late 80s, early 90s, is like certainly the stuff that went on there. It's like, this is all, you know, very tame, but people just get very uppity. And yeah, so that's always a little bit ridiculous. They put you sort of in the corner of the stadium. They rope off like 10 rows ahead of a, you know, as a whole thing. You're kind of in the special section.
How was the stadium though? It looks nice, right? It's a good
stadium. Oh, stadium's very nice.
Yeah.
Stadium's very cool. I didn't really. They have Skyline chili available there as well, which I didn't get.
Probably overpriced. Were you on the side with the shootout with the penalty goal, or was the penalty
no?
Goal
we were on the other end. We were on the away and on the other side from the Cincinnati fans. And yeah, you want to talk about the shootout?
I mean, that's the only part I caught because, and I did it right because it was a scoreless game, right?
Didn't miss anything. I mean, you know, there's different kinds of scoreless games, but this was not a good game. I had a couple of friends who were watching who are not regular MLS watchers, and I was like, this is not a good advertisement for the league. It's pretty poor. At some point, I think I texted, I said, both of these teams should just remove themselves from playoff contention because it was
this is a byproduct of the third. This is the byproduct of the 3-game series, right? It's just like goals don't matter. Hold tight, get to the penalties, right? And then get you through.
Well, okay, maybe if that's the attitude, then that's not. Then that's probably not working. I mean, our team. It was a little bit like game 1. Honestly, we were a little better defensively than we were in game 1, but in terms of offensive output, it was very, very little. And I don't think it didn't feel like we weren't trying. It just felt like nothing was clicking. There was just a lot of speculative passing or things that just didn't really have a chance. It got the only time there was some excitement is when Alonso Martinez scored, but it was called back for offside, which was, I guess, from my vantage point, was pretty obvious to me right away. But people went nuts, and a couple people threw their beers, and that really set off security. As like a dozen people immediately descended upon the section, and there was a lot of heated discussions. And anyway, aside from that, between I'm
allowed to throw my beer. Why not? They're just discussing the beer.
No, it's like it's. I guess there are the spokespeople for the supporters who are kind of. Yeah, it's all sort of, I don't know. Anyway,
yeah, it is what it is. But tell me about but you guys won. It was a good thing.
Yeah, it was very stressful. I mean, we got to we get to penalties.
Right? We did the same thing last year. They beat us on penalty 9. The only thing you guys did different was you beat them on penalty 9, I think. So,
well, but what also was different is that we needed 4 chances to do it.
Right.
We had 4. I
texted you. I was like, Jesus. I think I texted you, be like, is anybody going to score? Because you guys missed 4 in a row or something.
It was just. I mean, it was like it was so emotionally draining. Yeah. Because it was constantly like, oh my god, my god, oh my god, like. The beauty. Yeah, it was crazy. I didn't think prior to this shootout had not rated Matt Freese particularly highly, our goalkeeper, as a penalty stopper. He hasn't shown any particular, even though he had another, full props to him. He had another great game. He had one especially spectacular save. Cincinnati also they weren't super dangerous. They had a lot of shots, but they also were very poor in terms of finishing. So even though they generated a little bit more, which you would expect them being at home and all, but also were very poor in the final third, but had a couple of moments where Matty Freese really stepped up. And so full props, but I didn't go into the shootout feeling particularly confident. Because we had lost the last one against Columbus in the Leagues Cup, and our team just doesn't feel super tight. I mean, in the 2021, in our run to MLS Cup, we went to penalties twice. We scored every single one against Matt Turner, who was at the time a pretty good penalty stopper. And that back then it just seemed like, and we had Sean Johnson was good at this. So back then I felt confident, but now this time, I don't know, the team just doesn't quite have that same focus. But then Matty Freese did make a save, and we could have, with our final penalty, the 5th and final penalty, Thiago Martins was the first one who had the chance, and he did this like 10-minute moon-shaped run-up where I was like, oh god, and then it was saved. And of course, I mean, you can just imagine what happened. The stadium just went absolutely nuts after they thought they were done. Yeah, and then this happened 2 more times where Matt Freese made 2 more saves, and one time I forget who it was, but Cincinnati player hit it over the crossbar, and then we had Kevin O'Toole saved Andres Pereira. I had full confidence. He stepped up. I was like, that guy's a badass. He also hit it over the bar, and it was Mitja Ilinic, 19-year-old Mitja Ilinic, who was the 9th penalty taker. And there's video of this, and I really, I'm just obviously shoot this into my veins, but I really recommend watching it. Roman Celentano, what is his name?
Is it Roman Celentano?
Roman Celentano was talking to every penalty taker. He had things to say, and Mitja is just like, oh yeah, does this thing with his brow. It's like, oh, interesting, and then just hits it in the top right corner, and oh my God, the celebrations ensued. But
So
I
good
mean,
trip. You're happy to be there. Good trip.
was a great trip, and
And it
we
sets
in
up.
the end made friends with some Cincinnati fans afterwards. After they first were not happy to see us come into their bar, we all got along in the end. And it sets up
The
the playoff
Schnitzel
derby,
showdown.
the
Boys.
Schnitzel showdown.
We've never played each other in the playoffs. One and done. City Field, November 23rd, right? 5. What time is it?
I don't know. A week from Saturday,
And
5:30.
yeah, November
23rd. Yeah,
23rd.
23rd is correct.
Sorry.
5:30. I guess I wish we hadn't beaten you 5-1 the last time. I mean, that just
No, it's the end of the road for you guys. Enjoy it while it lasts.
seems like
We got our home. We have the Eastern Conference Final against Atlanta the week after that to get ready for. But it'll be a fun game. Finally the Schnitzel showdown. 2 weeks from today, Saturday. I wish it was Sunday, but unfortunately the world has to break for national team play for a week. And the Red Bulls are, they didn't play this weekend either. So who knows how cold things will be. We're several of our players have national team duty next week. So, who knows what the mindset will be. I'm just hoping they keep it going. But big story is the West.
big story.
The West
story
is
that
the
made
best. The West is the West. The 2 LA teams are still crushing. They're still going to win the whole thing. East was blown wide open. New York got rid of Cincinnati. New York got rid of Columbus. Atlanta got rid of number 9th. Atlanta got rid of number 1, Inter Miami.
The biggest upset in MLS playoff history.
Has to be. Because Inter Miami is this invincible juggernaut with Luis Suarez and Leo Messi. And it's just one of the, I was there in May when we lost 6-2 or whatever it was, and Leo Messi was just a beast. And it's just like when they want to win, you just can't beat them. But Atlanta, who had a very, very disappointing regular season, came up and they just swung them and got them. And you know what I love about this game? You know what really, really, really pissed me off, Bjorn? When Leo Campana shoved Brad Guzan in the goal. Did you see that?
Yeah, that was no good. Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, look at their snotty ass. And of course the ref is like, oh, that's fine by me. Name any league where he doesn't get carded.
No problem.
Name any league where a guy who doesn't openly shove another player doesn't get carded. What the hell is that all about?
Dax McCarty had a funny. Did you see that? He posted on Twitter about.
Remind me, what was
big tree, fall hard.
Oh right.
Sort of making fun of how Brad Guzan had trouble getting back on his feet after that. He was sort of caught.
Well, he was stuck in the net, and they shoved him back in there. But you know what I love about that? Because I think that's really petty and poopy and bad. It's bad energy from the Miami players. And I love that it emboldened him so much. Brad Guzan had a superhuman-like performance.
Unbelievable. And not just that game. I mean, the whole series, he's been incredible. He had that one
last week.
He had that one blunder.
Right.
He had that one blunder, but after that, he was very, very good.
And honestly, honestly, if you had to ask me right now, I know it was only one game, but if Brad can pull that out of his butt, if you ask me right now who the best U.S. national team goalkeeper is, I'd say it's time for Guz to go back in the net. Let's get Brad Guzan in there.
But except he's older than Tata Martino. I mean, like
he's 41 or whatever. But still.
But
But did you see our thumbnail after he blocked the end with his chest? He was just like like he just like the Hulk. He just yelled at that damn team. Just we're knocking you effers out.
He was pumped up.
Thanks for shoving me in the net.
So.
Yeah,
right.
And I think all the MLS fans like me, the neutrals, were cheering him on because it's just like screw that, screw those prima donnas in Miami. They're shoving their
crap. It turned out to be pretty satisfying. I'm not really, I personally not super anti Miami. I enjoyed.
I'm not either, but their behavior pissed me.
But this was very
very
satisfying, and this like kind of, that this is a foregone conclusion. It was cool. It was very satisfying.
Yeah, I mean, Apple TV's Messi. Even when the game was over, Messi was on the thumbnail. It's like, why isn't Guzan is on the thumbnail? Guzan yelling with his chest open, that's on the thumbnail. And then Jordi Alba complaining to the ref and afterwards saying, the
Jordi
playoffs unfair. Wow, wow, wow. It's like, shut up. You guys lost.
Welcome to America, Jordy.
Welcome to America. Welcome to the playoffs. And it goes to...
He did. In fairness, he did give props to
Guzan.
Guzan. He said that. Yeah.
But you celebrate the Supporters Shield, right? And then Miami were chosen for the FIFA Club World Cup, which is now looking like an extra ridiculous decision. But it just shows you the title is the MLS Cup. It's hard to remember the Supporters Shield winners. It's not hard to remember the Cup winners. The title is the Cup. And you did great for the regular season, but it's time. It's like you got to win these games. The second half of the season is the season. So the title is the Cup. So people are saying, is Inter Miami's season a failure? It isn't. They won the Supporters Shield. That's a huge turnaround from the last year. But if they want to win the Cup, they're going to have to change a couple of things. I mean, they have to figure it out. And I think
they got to defend. I mean, we have this. We said this all season. I mean, they were very impressive in the regular season, even without Messi. And but they were always, they could score a lot of goals, but they were always defensively frail for sure, right. Especially in transition. They're not a fast team, yeah. And you just thought that at some point this is gonna be a problem, and it was.
Yeah, and the highest.
I mean, it was the defending was shambolic. The goals they gave up in this game, it's like kid stuff. So, yeah, and
I'm curious how Atlanta's going to do against Orlando. In all seriousness, I'd probably give that
Orlando, who barely survived.
Charlotte,
with a late equalizer and then also penalties. Yeah,
but the East is wide open, right? Like, remember, I said it's MLS Cup is going to be won by Columbus, Inter Miami, Cincy, or the LA teams. Now it's only LA teams. The Eastern winner is up for grabs. It is wide open.
And I don't think either of them are. I mean, they're going to have home field most likely against whoever.
Who, Orlando?
No, the LA teams in the
LA is always going to be home unless they play each other.
If they make it that far, but I don't think either of those teams are unbeaten. I mean, LA, the Galaxy, I feel about them similarly as I do about Miami. I think their defense is not good enough, and I think they will potentially.
They beat Colorado 9-1. I mean, I'm not really ready to criticize them that much. And they got Marco Reus.
That's my. Oh, Marco Reus is going to play center back. No, the.
Bashi Schweinsteiger.
I think the Galaxy. I'm gonna say the Galaxy will not make it to the final.
I'm honestly hoping the Galaxy win the whole thing now. My dream final would be LA Galaxy versus the Red Bulls, so I can watch them play. I can watch Marco Reus. Maybe it's not so cold. I don't have to drive too far. I just hope LA hosts the MLS Cup and then the Red Bulls are the guests, because that means I get to watch MLS Cup, and I deserve it. But either way, the East is a lot of fun. It's wide open, and it brings me this little thing that I just want to talk about related to that, because we talked about the last hour promotion relegation and the playoffs fair and boop boop ba ba ba, and I was very, very happy when the New York Red Bulls won the Supporters Shield. It was good to win that title, and it is a title. And the postseason was always very disappointing, which is disappointing for the Supporters Shield winner. This year is no exception, right? The Supporters Shield winner flumped out and crashed out to the lowest seed in the first round.
And the points record, when you get the points record, that always happens.
Cute. Yeah, it's cute, but who cares? But the MLS season needs to be approached different ways. Like, when we won the Supporters Shield, I was like, great. I was like, okay, New York Red Bulls, now let's change it up. Let's relax, dilly-dally in the beginning. Make sure you're ready to go by the end of the season before the playoffs. It's essentially how you have to do it. It's hard to control that. But this year kind of fell finally in that category. We started off strong. Then we had a very, very, very poor middle of the season. Emil Forsberg was injured. We lost some players to the national team for national team commitments for the summer tournaments. And we just had a really, really disappointing middle of the season. But then at the very, very end of the regular season, Emil Forsberg was finally fully healthy and back. All our players were back. And I had this small sort of feeling in the back of my mind where it's like, I'm just like, you know what? They really just need to get ready for the playoffs, and they can make a push here. So as long as they're in good shape by the time the playoffs are around, then I think we're in decent shape. And they just about pulled that off. The playoffs started, and the New York Red Bulls are back to playing the best soccer, and they're back to being a full-strength team at exactly the right time. So finally, I think the thing that I've sort of always wished is happening, which is where, like, the best part of their season will be the last part of their season. Kind of like how NYCFC won when they won in 2021. The best part of your season that year was the last part of the season. Up until then, there wasn't much to speak about.
Definitely true.
So I shouldn't have said it out loud. Good sports etiquette is you don't say that stuff out loud. But it's definitely in my mind where it's like, is this a special little run? Are they going to have their best games ahead of them? We'll see. The Columbus games were magical. Can't take it away from them. NYCFC is going to be a big game. But they're pretty even. They're pretty even-footed with NYCFC this year. So
I don't think so. I think we played you way better than we have in recent years. I mean, if the two,
how many points that we were 6 and 7, we're 1 point apart, right?
No. I'm saying head-to-head matchups. I thought
Yeah, but you haven't played us at our best. You only played us back when we were missing our guys and stuff like that.
All right.
Now we're both at full strength.
We're gonna see. I mean, I'm not gonna puff up my chest. I don't think this. I think we played in these 3 games against Cincinnati. We played one good half, which was the first half at Citi Field. We were pretty good. Other than that, it was not great. And the offensive flow somehow has been lost for our team. And so, I'm not going to make any predictions that we're going to go all the way. But
it's an open 50-50 game, right?
We're going to see.
I did feel that way about the last game, but it was 5-1 or something, right? 5-1. But, like I said, it's playoffs. It's different. We're an extra week cooled off, which I don't like. Hopefully they scrimmage well or something. I don't know. It's going to be like we're on this high beating Columbus, and you have to take a 3-week break for next game. But I think you have the advantage in that.
I mean, we have 2 weeks,
but
we got 2 weeks too. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maxi Morales looked tired. He could use a little time off.
Yeah.
So it's going to be good for him. But I think we have pretty much everyone healthy. I don't think we have a lot of other than Malachi Jones. Tavon Gray was missing, but I think that was a personal issue, so he's going to be back. But
one and done.
It'll be fun. It'll be fun. It'll be good.
They're going for it. The play. You can tell. You can tell it's playoffs because people are just playing harder. These games are always a lot of fun. I love playoff games. And now it's one and done. There's no more 2-game series. It's one and done. So it's like it ends that night. You go at each other, and then there is overtime, right? It doesn't go straight to penalties. I think there is overtime.
There is overtime now that there's only one game. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's one and done. They're doing it that night, and there's nothing to lose. Let's go for it. Sweet. So I'm excited. And there you go. We got Orlando and Atlanta. And again, I think that's also pretty wide open because Atlanta has shown that they've got they're ready for the playoffs as well. And then, like I said, out west, we got the 2 LA teams.
LAFC is playing Seattle, LA Galaxy, Minnesota.
I give that one to the Galaxy. And LAFC and Seattle is probably a little bit more open because Seattle is a good playoff team. I still give them both the LAs. I think the Western Conference has been less surprising than the Eastern Conference. I think the Eastern Conference is just blown wide open. So, yay.
All right. I spent some time earlier today listening to, just because it was happening and I had some time, the Philadelphia Union press conference, end of year. They fired Jim Curtin, longtime coach Jim Curtin.
I figured you'd be happy about that. Check out. I figured you'd be happy about it. What if Jim Curtin became the NYCFC coach for next year? Would you like that?
That's never going to happen. No way.
Yeah, you're not a big Jim Curtin fan. You definitely place Greg above him and stuff. And you're never a big Jim Curtin guy.
I guess I'm not super big on him. And neither is Ernst Tanner, it turns out. Because obviously everybody's polite. Both owner Jay Sugarman, I think is his name, and Ernst Tanner were there. And of course, they were very effusive in their praise for Jim Curtin, etc. And but then I guess it was just interesting to see, because the union, they get the. Ever since I've been following MLS closely, it was always like, oh, they don't spend any money. The union, they're on a limited budget, and
they're a great success story. I do,
and so
really appreciate them as an organization.
Yeah, once Ernst Tanner showed up, and he
even before him under Ernie Stewart, it was under Ernie Stewart before him. But Ernst Tanner did great. Ernst Tanner did great.
But he's done. Yeah,
I was going to say, just as an organization, they've done well. Jim Curtin was mainly the constant, because before Ernst was Ernie, and they were doing well under Ernie and Jim as well.
They've just steadily kind of improved. They made it to MLS Cup final, but this year they missed the playoffs, and that was it. And I think the journalists who were there were very much sort of challenging both of them and saying, like, the league is growing. There's some big teams. They spend the money. You guys don't spend any money. Is that? And now basically that was sort of the journalist's take on it. It's like, you don't spend any money, and now you're blaming the coach for this.
Yeah, you're bocheming. It's called bocheming.
And both of them were very. No, it's not called bocheming, Stefan. It's not.
Are you sure?
You just called it that
verb.
You just called it that, and then you said that's what you call it. That's not how that works. You just made that up. Anyway,
are you sure? In the wider world, I've heard it before. I think to bochum.
No. That's never. No one has ever said that until just now.
Yeah.
So
I'm a trailblazer. I am a trailblazer.
So anyway, their whole thing is youth. And this is on purpose. This is not just because they want to save money. They're saying this is their strategy for success. And it's not about selling players. It's about winning. They think this is a winning strategy in MLS. And the problem they've had is that, and this was not said quite so explicitly, but kind of, that Jim Curtin wasn't playing the kids enough, and he wasn't given enough time to the kids. Philly Union 2 just won the MLS Next Pro championship in the playoffs. So Ernst Tanner feels very good about the kids, and that's a very young team. Apparently, I don't follow them, but they're like all in the 17, 18, 19 age range.
Led by Kevin
owner.
Right?
Owner Sugarman said that they spent like they're spending $72 million on a training facility where they can all train together. That's part of this whole thing, that the kids spend a lot of time with the first team, and that's basically where Ernst Tanner felt like they were no longer in alignment, where Jim Curtin wasn't giving enough time to some of these younger players, and there were some complaints about depth, and Tanner said like the kids are the depth. Now, I thought this was interesting because Ernst Tanner obviously is untouchable there, and the owner kept saying like, well, if Ernst thinks this is what we need to do, this is what we're going to do. This is our concept. It's basically based on his idea. We're not doing it to save money. We're doing it to be successful. It's not about, we don't get excited about selling players or development. We want to win. He said it's not about money or player sales. It's about winning. This is our approach. And Ernst Tanner's the man, but he has also missed on a bunch of transfers. He's bought players that really didn't play much or that didn't. So his track record is also not 100%. Two things. I want to hear your thoughts. Number one, this is I guess it's sort of rare, I would say, in the league that a team has this very specific of an approach. Although I guess the Red Bulls are kind of similar in some ways.
Yes.
But the Union very outspokenly are these guys are like, this is what we're doing, and we're sticking with it. And it's just going to be interesting to see how this now goes, who they hire as a coach. It's not going to be Pellegrino Matarazzo that we already heard. He's not a candidate.
Who said that, by the way? I remember we talked about it off broadcast. Who said that?
This
Ernst
was on
Tanner
Twitter.
No,
this did not come up in the press
just
conference.
In the press conference, I just want to make this very clear. It will not be Pellegrino Matarazzo.
No, one of the reporters, I forget who it was. I think
Tannenwald?
Jonathan Tannenwald tweeted this. He's not a candidate.
What great coach they missed out on? Who would have been a great coach? They just missed out on Bruce Arena. Who's going to San Jose?
Yeah, he's in
But
San
Bruce
Jose.
going to Philly sounds much more right.
This is going to be such a turnaround for San Jose. Is just going to be. There's going to be. I bet he is going to be.
He's getting rid of the whole roster. Actually. Watch the magic happen. They were talking about he's getting rid of the whole roster.
Oh, like Jermaine Jones did.
No, like what Bruce Arena does with all of his jobs. oh yeah, you get rid of all. Now that's a different approach. I think that was more.
Going to bring Bobby Wood back. We'll see.
But I mean, there's no way that's the Philadelphia Union policy without Jay Sugarman being in charge of it. If I was a billionaire, I'd do exactly the same thing. I believe that the way Philadelphia Union runs things are, in my opinion, the most ideal way an MLS club should be run. I've talked about this before. And the New York Red Bulls come in a close second. Now, New York Red Bulls has more limitations. That's why I really respect the Philly organization, because they have a local owner and everything's about their club. The New York Red Bulls does not have a local owner, and it's part of a larger network of clubs like NYCFC. And sometimes you feel like the little brother, and so and like sometimes New York Red Bulls, like they sign in new youngsters, but they have to be 19. They have to be from the Venezuelan second division or something like that. And I'm like, and then the reason is probably because they don't see the New York Red Bulls as their final stop, or they see the New York Red Bulls as a place where they can be more experimental. I don't get that vibe from the Philly Union at all. Every decision they make is based on themselves, and them, which is why I think I have a lot of respect for the Philly Union organization. I think my policy on clubs is that the Bundesliga does this so well, especially back when the Kirch Media Group shut down in the early aughts. German clubs couldn't buy as many players, so they had to invest. Plus, there was a movement from the DFB. They had to invest in their youth, and I think that's it. Like your depth. And I've talked about MLS's limits. Your depth is your kids. Create players. The only way you can have a world-class player without spending $1 million on Messi is by creating one and having the youngster version of him. You know what I mean? That's really the only way. You can't afford an already made top player, really. So, and it's like they did with Brazil, Argentina, Mexico, but definitely Brazil and Argentina, it's all next man up. They're there to sell their players when they're ready. Next man up. They have hundreds of kids waiting to go, ready to go. And then they're also there to catch old vets. And I think that's how Philly does it. They're bringing older vets, like Gooch was there and Bedoya was there for years. And stuff.
I mean that's what they were saying. They believe that the American player is going to be a big deal in the future, and that's what they're getting ready for. We'll see.
Kevin Sullivan is their poster boy for it, the great American who has yet to be. I've talked about that already. But But Philly Union does everything right.
You said it. These kids never pan out.
No, yeah, that's what I was saying. Who's yet to be? I was being a little facetious. But Philly Union are doing it right. Like I look at that. I've said this before. There is no reason that all 30 MLS clubs don't have $70 million youth facilities, vibrant academies, just creating players. There's no reason that's the case. Dallas does a good job. New York Red Bulls does a good job. Philly does a good job. NYCFC, I think, does a pretty good job, too. That's almost it. I'm trying to think. LA Galaxy used to do a good job, but they stopped. I don't know. I think when Bruce left, they stopped. But there's no reason that like Colorado, Real Salt Lake. I guess Real Salt Lake is putting forth effort. Maybe I'm being a little unfair with a couple of these clubs, but there's no reason that the core of every
No, I
MLS
mean
club.
definitely Dallas. Definitely, yeah, yeah. There's
What's
definitely some
Houston's
teams,
excuse?
but-
What's Houston's excuse? What's Colorado's excuse? What's San Jose's excuse? Have huge academies, create your best players. Throw some vets in there to help them out. But anywho, I do like the way they do it. I love the fact they're very open with it, and I think they're run very well. And and it does take that is the German philosophy. That's how German clubs are run for the most part.
Well, I mean, if there weren't any fans there, obviously it's a press conference, but if the general vibe of the journalists was any indication, they seem not impressed with this.
Well, in their
approach. They were like,
defense,
"These
they've
are
won
just,
0 titles.
This is all. Yeah, exactly.
They've won 0
They were
MLS
like, this is
clubs.
all. This is a lot of words to say. We're not going to spend any money.
However, they've won 0 MLS Cups. That's technically true. However, they've won the Supporter Shield, and I was there when they lost to LAFC in the final. And remember, that year, wins dictated the host, not points
very
or something
close.
like that. If Philly
Well, and
hosted
if
that
you're
game,
asking
they would have
them-
won. If Philly hosted
If
that
they're
game, they
asking
would have
them,
been MLS Cup
if
winner.
not for COVID, they would have won in
2021 too. Philly did have a great run, and I'm not saying it's over. Maybe a new coach will start them right back up again.
Apparently, which I also didn't know, they're expanding the stadium a little bit. They're adding some luxury seating. They're trying to increase revenue. I mean, things are happening.
They
So,
do have a small
that'll be
little
interesting.
dinky stadium. I would like. It's a cool stadium. It was cool at the time.
No, the
But,
stadium's
like-
cool. It's not, it's not. It's in Chester. It's a little
Right, it's in the
off
suburbs.
It's not, all the
Philadelphia.
all the other stadiums, all the other Philly stadiums are
Right.
in one place.
Yeah, they have
and
a big
this
dirty
is-
sports
this is
bar there. It's
further
off the
out,
subway.
and-
It's in the city. Now, like if they want to be a real Philly team, eventually they would. I mean, if in a perfect world, if I were building, they would. If I were them, I'd try to find a way to relocate them to that area where the other stadiums are. Get themselves a little spot there, maybe a 30,000 seater or something. But that's that's dreamland a little bit. But yeah, they have this YCJ Academy, whatever it's called, this full like elite high school. They really spend money on the youth, and business wise, it makes sense. I mean, how much they sell Kevin Sullivan for? Isn't he huge? They pay a chunk of change for that, and I guarantee you, with their player sales, they're probably breaking even with all the investments they're putting in their academy.
I mean,
But even if not,
that was
MLS should be.
what,
Even if not, MLS should be using all their TV money to subsidize that stuff, because I think that's the greatest potential of growth.
all
in
their
this whole
TV
league.
money. What's all the TV money? There's so little TV money.
Well, they've
I
more
mean, now we
than
don't
ever
even
had.
know what it is.
But MLS's greatest source
That's
of
a
growth
very low bar.
is
It's an
players.
extremely low bar too.
MLS right now is a league that nickel and dimes their stadium prices, and they're nickel diming every little thing they can. The biggest potential for growth is players for them. Development
You
and
mean
sales.
player sales?
Yeah, development and sales. Yeah, and I'm like, that's the only thing that has
Yeah.
it's a variable with no ceiling. So there's no reason they shouldn't be really investing in that stuff. Yeah, those are my thoughts on that. I try to
right.
think who they would get their hands on. Or maybe they're going to go an outside hire or something. Curious.
Oh, in terms of coach,
Yeah,
no idea.
maybe the youth coach will get promoted. That never really works out. But maybe it will this time.
There have been no. I haven't heard anything.
And how much credence do you give for they won MLS Next Pro, but how would that translate to MLS? I would argue. I think we talked
No,
about.
I mean it
probably very
doesn't.
little.
Very little. Well, for sure. No, it's not. I mean, there's a big gap between those two leagues. But I mean, Ernst Tanner just takes this as. I mean, he bolstered his case that the kids are good. The kids are, some of them are ready, he thinks, and they need more chances. If you have problems with depth, or you have, then yeah, you got to play the kids. That's what he described as a lack of alignment between him and Jim Curtin.
There you go. So they have a clear vision. They know what they're doing, and they're very public about it. I respect that.
Let's see who's coming.
Well, that was USA Hour. We got 2 weeks. We got USA playing Jamaica next week. And then after that, we've got the Schnitzel Showdown. Schnitzel Showdown. Oh, we forgot. Should we put a bet? I guess we talk about this next week, but if New York Rebels wins...
We still have next week.
We got to spice it up a little bit. Maybe we got to put a bet in there.
All right, maybe. Well, do we have next week to figure that out?
Iron out some details.
No
I might
one
fly
wants
into
me
New
to
York
get naked.
for it. We'll see. Probably not.
Oh, you're kidding.
I'd like to, but honestly, I don't think it's in the cards for this year. But we'll see. Anyway, cheers, everybody. Goodbye. MLS playoffs are exciting. The East is wide open. And we'll see who wins. All right. See y'all.